you have a percentage of people who criticize you. My critic is welcome. This is Piero San Giorgio on Tel Aviv beachfront. One of the places I always enjoyed when I came here in Israel for business is to stay in one of these big hotels and enjoy the beach, enjoy the view, of course the good food, most importantly the friendly people, and I must tell you, very good, beautiful girls here on the beach. Anyways, I love Israeli people, they're really great, and I've slept with over 300 women.
C'est qui? C'est Jennifer Lawrence?
La dernière, oui. Ah.
Ah, il y en a eu d'autres? Ah bon, ok. Bon, je sais qu'il y a des imams aussi qui ont dit...
Why should I care? I'm super self-confident. I don't care about what people think. Hello everyone, this is Piero San Giorgio, author of Survive the Economic Collapse and many other books. Today, I'm very happy to greet Mr. Shlomo Gordon. Shlomo, Bokel Tov, Shalom, welcome to the show.
Hi Piero, thanks for having me on. Bokel.
Now, for people who may not know, I have done quite a lot of work in Israel. When I was in the software industry, I've started companies in Tel Aviv and Herzliya, and I've been working with extensively with companies in technology and selling to companies in Israel like Teva, like Elbit, like so many Converse and everyone. So I've been going many times. So people are always surprised of my knowledge of Israel and how much I know and how much I appreciate the qualities, the landscape. I've always been extremely well received and people have been very friendly and welcoming to me. So I have a very positive attitude with Israel. So I want to shout out to all my Israeli friends who listen to the show. I've been a top manager of fairly large multinationals.
Having personally invested over 10,000 hours searching, researching, and investigating in the hidden forces that shape our world and our daily lives, and considering that common thread led straight through to the origins and aftermath of 9/11, recording was the most cost-effective way to preserve our studies for future evaluation. That being said, when my fiancé started having problems at Oracle, I was already well into this policy of contextually recording our daily work, and Oracle's executives were accidentally captured in the midst of it all. Coincidentally, at that same time, in April of 2003, I had in my hands evidence of hundreds of thousands of dollars being funneled to offshore private accounts from a company who was a partner of Oracle Corporation. This Oracle partner in crime was led by two British expatriates who were exiled after similar frauds to that which I observed in the spring of 2003. For example, they were charging Oracle clients for services that were not actually being rendered, and they were collecting taxes on Oracle software being sold, but failing to pass those taxes on to the government. This particular Oracle partner was also claiming bankruptcy and under a supposed audit, yet was wiring large sums of money to private offshore accounts. One of the men responsible was surnamed Sheikh, and at the time there was supposedly a high awareness and interest in potential vehicles for Islamic terrorist funding, or at least that's what the media was telling us at the time. And so I decided to test the waters, and my first call was to the Department of Homeland Security. They weren't interested. And then I tried the IRS, and then the Treasury Department. They likewise expressed lackluster interest. Something was wrong. I couldn't figure out why the people who were allegedly hunting for the machinations of the terrorist funding weren't interested in possible and plausible instances of that type of breach in the system. I started to think that maybe the Islamist extremist terrorists were actually the shadow cast by a more wily and less obvious organization, or that possibly Al-Qaeda was not really made up of Islamic extremists at all, but rather quite the opposite. And the sad truth is, the evidence points to corporate fundamentalists who were using the Muslim population as a scapegoat which depends on total media control and the conditioned, stereotypically driven responses from the masses to bomb them back to the Stone Age. Indeed. So hopefully, if you haven't already, you'll start to smell the hypocrisy in the media and the administration's official story. And when I looked further into these events, they seem to head toward a synthetic confluence, where the two become one and the sum becomes the whole. You see, a shadow is a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional object. And in order to find a source which casts the shadow, one must go to the base from which the shadow is cast. Al-Qaeda is the shadow cast by elements of the intelligence community, and Al-Qaeda means the base. Al-Qaeda takes its name from a database file wherein information on miscellaneous terrorists was filed for future classification. The idea of imprisoning the people in a dark cave and using fire to cast shadows to keep the people in fear is a callback to Plato's allegory The Cave. So you see, to those playing tricks on all of us, it's all some sort of demented inside joke, but only to those of us who are on the outside and see the shadows for what they are. For everyone else, it's real and terrifying, and that's what makes it deadly for everyone involved. Think about how we're all conditioned to believe that the truth hurts, when in fact fear is used to keep us from its innate comfort. As you might also be aware, Osama bin Laden was trained in the United States by U.S. intelligence agencies and sponsored by U.S. taxpayer dollars. But there are few aware that his code name was Tim Osman, OSS man. Get it? And you see, there are quite a few of these twisted little side jokes sewn into the fabric of this ongoing fraud.
Thanks, dude. I have two jobs. One is head of Mossad and one is KGB, FSB now.
You see, that's what goes on, and while many may be aware that approximately $1 trillion in black market funds are laundered through our stock market every year, few are aware how it's done. Evidence demonstrates that technology companies are used in part to obfuscate the process of laundering from the public eye. And my experience, as captured on Memorex, demonstrates that factions of the authorities charged to investigate and prosecute are in fact acting to protect and allow such blatantly syndicated and proliferated frauds to exist and to profit toward a market-crashing event. Now I could draw you a model, but of course you couldn't see it from there, but basically, one could plausibly use enterprise software companies to launder huge amounts of drug money, internationally, and that's because much of what you're selling is an illusion. A great deal of the commercial technology made available on the street today is a cheaply derived cousin of its more potent intelligence community software counterparts. And in a good deal of cases, the development was already paid for in part by U.S. taxpayer contributions. The software community in many cases then minimally adapts this software for commercial use and derives an arbitrarily decided sum of money for it. You see, I could sell you a CD with the same code for either $10,000 or $10 million. There's no difference. There are no boundaries. The technology industry is like the Wild West in that it's practically unchecked in every way and exploited by the few with the hidden knowledge and the secret affiliations to those in power. Are you starting to recognize why the gray area of verifying the worth of transactions becomes so important? If one were a character of questionable integrity, and that character was, for instance, the CEO of a large software corporation with ties to a corrupt administration and a huge opportunity to launder illicit funds without being caught by authorities, which seems more logical? That this fictional character is loyal to his or her clients, employees, investors, etc., and would sidestep easy money opportunities that come their way? Or would said character exploit the opportunity to the fullest degree, possibly to the point of being caught? Because the precedents set recently clearly demonstrate that little or nothing happens to you when you launder the right people's money. Could this process not then be duplicated across multiple enterprise software organizations? A syndicated network of such organizations could readily launder hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars annually. Do you suppose that those organizations would focus on solving technology problems for clients, or simply progress software to legitimately do business while laundering money? We live in a capitalist society, which is more profitable. The enterprise software industry is part and parcel with the Sullivan and Cromwell phenomenon, wherein the Wall Street bankers created the intelligence community and the Council on Foreign Relations. And in contemporary terms, it's still all the same scheme. It's called the stock market, wherein every publicly traded entity is a possible mechanism to launder dirty transactions without investors being any the wiser. And if the American people do not stand up and demand change and reform, the market and the dollar will crash, and along with it, America as we've known it. These days, the Wall Street venture capitalists capitalize on the ignorance of the internet trading and investing community, and they pull the plug on the stocks as they please. One such venture company is called Veritas Capital, which now owns DynCorp. Search DynCorp plus UN plus guilty plus sex to see what they're investing in. But to give you a hint, it's the ironic epitome of the truth. But the perfect example is Oracle Corporation, wherein they enlisted Morgan Stanley.com guru Charles Phillips to overhype its stock, and when the dot-bomb market crashes, as the bubble was a contrived scheme from the start, Oracle in return rewards Phillips with the position of president, of Oracle that is. Google is the whole dot-com investment scheme condensed into one stock, and it's an investor's nightmare waiting to happen. Google is also an intelligence community experiment which captures and caches your information until the year 2038. Getting back to software companies, they literally print their own money. And if that makes you think of Bill Gates or Larry Ellison, it certainly should, as both Microsoft and Oracle were Pentagon projects turned commercial. Aside from the software companies and the Federal Reserve bankers, the only other company who's allowed to print international currency that I know of is American Express. Getting to where the rubber meets the road, here are a few points that might pique your interest, or at the very least, provide a novel perspective through which to observe the 9/11 landscape. In 2000 and 2001, the SEC had investigated Legato, and in response, Legato appointed a new CEO. Sound familiar? I later discovered that this CEO had fraudulently claimed an MBA degree, as I took the trouble to fact-check his background and verify this with the registrar of the college in question. There's also an interesting connection to an insurance company and Citibank in this story, but this is neither the time nor the place to share that. The point is that this same CEO who falsified his experience and was brought in to clean up Legato's accounting also signed his company correspondence with "Let's Roll," the phrase allegedly made famous by Todd Beamer on Flight 93. Coincidentally, Todd Beamer's father was the chief financial officer at Legato, working directly for the CEO who signs his company correspondence, "Let's Roll." On a side note, my fiance worked with Todd Beamer, as they were both in sales at Oracle. David Beamer has recently stated that he does not like people to use this phrase in remembrance of Flight 93. So why would he allow Legato's CEO to use it repetitively in meaningless emails? It seems a little more than strange when you get down to the details. One might also find it interesting that EMC's founder, Richard Egan, was Dick Cheney's largest fundraiser in 2000, and was appointed by George W. Bush as ambassador to Ireland in his first term. Coincidence? Only if you're missing the information which connects them all.
You've read about it. You've heard about it. You've probably even complained about it. The old ways of working no longer work. Change is faster than we are. Technology changes the jobs we hire for. Trends form like the weather, and this is the forecast. Unpredictable with a chance of different. And now for the challenge. Keep up. Break free. Shatter expectations. The time is now, and we are here to shake things up. Ready? How to start a revolution. 1. Round up a rock star team of humans. 2. Challenge the norm and the status quo. 3. Design, think, share, listen, muse, brainstorm. Repeat again and again and again. Cultivate enthusiasm, nurture ideas, define a clear, simple message. Aim high, trust, find truth in diverse perspectives and among partnerships. We are a force. Let's truly change the world, change lives. When we are a megaphone for the unheard, a lighthouse for the unseen, we create exponential change. When we connect people to purpose, they will give you their best. With our leadership, our ripple will become a wave. Our wave will become a movement. Our movement will become a revolution. We are the human revolution. And the human revolution starts now.
We do for the customers, the research in technologies, the research in people, how we work very particularly to make sure that we are building the right thing. Person having to achieve a task, solve a problem, get an insight, and we have to understand what that is.
Pictures, icons that are very usable. I loved the mind control tool, which was awesome. I think there's a lot of potential opportunity for use of that in the future and now, especially in the assistive technology area. The mind control tool, which was awesome.
Sigil is an IT company helping pilgrims come to the holy mosques inside the country. 10 million visitors comes through our environment and our systems. We started with an exa data solution. We were coming to a technology refresh cycle, and we were looking at different options. During a certain period of time of the year, the demand is much higher than the available spaces. So there is a huge capacity and demand that's needed to be performed by the system. So Oracle has helped us in having Oracle Cloud at Customer to be able to burst out and avail that capacity of us to serve the additional load and come back to the normal load as soon as the huge impact was coming.
There seems to be two overarching projects here that are represented that really are where everything in the world is headed right now. And one is happening in little tiny Estonia there next to Russia, and the other is happening in Saudi Arabia.
And while Saudi Arabia doesn't have anyone attending the Bilderberg meeting, what they do have is Klaus Kleinfeld, the German-born guy who's also lived in the U.S., who's been on the Bilderberg steering committee for years and years and who attends every year. In the past, he's been known for being the CEO of Alcoa and of Siemens, so very big in industry and commerce and very big in data harvesting and planning for the future. You know, Siemens works with Disney World and all these high-tech places to implement basically feedback data to collect individualized data sets on people as they go through these environments. And in the real world, Klaus Kleinfeld, with his ties and experience in Siemens, is now overseeing the special future city project known as NEOM, N-E-O-M, which is being set up in Saudi Arabia in a wasteland desert that hasn't been used for anything else, but is located in a very strategic place.
NEOM comes from the Latin word for new, neo, and the M stands for the Arabic word future. So it's new future. And it's supposed to be exactly 33 times bigger than New York because we all know how they like their numerology. But also what they're saying about it is that this is a huge civilizational leap for humanity. It's going to be the next way we're all going to live. Everything is going to be artificial intelligence. There are going to be robots everywhere doing all kinds of things, including caretaking. I mean, if it sounds futuristic, if it sounds like it came out of a Philip K. Dick novel, it's probably going to be in this city.
Yeah, they're trying to integrate all the new technologies, and they claim they're going to be the basis of the most important parts of it. And the bottom line, it's going to be the first free trade zone that crosses international borders in the Middle East. It's a Saudi city-state, but it's going to be a free trade zone, and it branches out between Saudi Arabia, the tip of Egypt, and it kind of extends to Jordan and Israel as well. And they're all going to be partners, and just the Saudi government alone is investing $500 billion for this. They're attracting all kinds of outside capital.
They're saying basically this new zone is going to be a global hub that connects Asia, Europe, and Africa, but it's going to have an autonomous judicial system, its own tax and labor laws. It's going to be able to power itself solely through renewable energy. It is not going to be answerable to the Saudi government or to any government. It's going to be an international free trade zone city. So this is going to be something new.
It's going to be the model city for 21st century smart cities. They're going to have people from around the world live there, shop there, go there for vacation, go to their beach resorts, but also fly through on the hub clouds and connect to the different major parts of the world that all come together in the Middle East. And so again, it's going to be the premier 21st century smart city. At least that's what they tell us. And they say, quote, "We want the main robot and the first robot in Neom to be Neom, robot number 1. That's what the Crown Prince said. And he's saying everything will have a link with artificial intelligence and with the Internet of Things. Everything. That's the city. That's the place they're building.
And the strangest thing about this is the politics that you see on the world stage right now do not match when it comes to what's actually going on in this Project Neom. It's more than just a smart city. It's more than just all the creepy things that go along with living in a smart city and a truly, completely interconnected, no privacy having smart grid. But also, behind the scenes of this, everyone's friends, because we're talking about business partnerships now that have nothing to do with politics anymore. And what I mean by that is, back in April, so this past April, Prince Mohammed bin Salman came out and did an interview with The Atlantic where he not only said that Iran's supreme leader makes Hitler look good, because everyone's doing that right now because they're trying to heat up this thing with Iran, but he also said that he recognizes the Jewish people have a right to a nation state of their own next to a Palestinian state, which is something that no Arab leader has ever acknowledged. Publicly, that has never been acknowledged. Behind the scenes, they're saying that because of Neom, Saudi Arabia might recognize Israel. That this is what's getting ready to happen. Because Neom isn't just going to geographically connect Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Egypt. It's also right there next to Israel and is going to connect to this new Medred railway that's going to run up through Jordan, up through Israel, and up through Tel Aviv. This is all about to be interconnected. So they've actually been in the process of having secret meetings right now, Saudi's Crown Prince, with Israel, in investing, because a lot of Israeli tech companies want to invest in this Neom thing, and actually Israeli companies have been selling cybersecurity to Saudi Arabia. So behind the scenes, they're really good friends, and if you read these articles, they talk about how the only reason they haven't made this public is because the politics that are going on right now with Palestine and all of that. So they haven't made it public yet. Saudi Arabia has suddenly become very moderate. In fact, ever since the new king has come in, they've allowed women to drive. All kinds of things are starting to change over there very rapidly, actually. And strangely, and I've not seen this anywhere else, so I'm not going to report this as if this is just totally going to happen. It's just something that they have on the Neom website. And look, this is Neom. They actually have this logo here, which to me, you can clearly see an upside down pentagram in the middle of this. You've got a fingerprint here. You've got plants here. You've got digital stuff going on here. Interesting logo. But anyways, all of this stuff, by the way, has interesting symbols in them. If you look at their videos, they got all the one-eye symbology, all that kind of stuff going on. This article right here is up on Neom News, the city of the future, and it says, according to reports, Russia and China are seeking to annex Israel, which has access to the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, thereby transferring exports via a railway network in Israel. That's the one I just told you they're getting ready to build, saving the cost of sailing around Sinai and the cost of the Egyptian Suez Canal. Now, I've not seen anything anywhere else that would suggest that Russia and China are going to annex Israel. I've not seen that reported anywhere, but here it is on the Neom website, like that's just what's going to happen next. Interestingly, though, I will say that not only has Saudi Arabia been meeting with Israel on the Neom project, but a lot of the other people that are at Bilderberg this year, they've also been meeting. Italian companies are talking about playing a major role in the areas of robotics and information technology. They've been meeting with Saudi Arabia. You have all kinds of executives from American companies, major international companies that are meeting, and Russia is investing billions of dollars in Neom. Billions. And the Russian foreign minister has been meeting with his Saudi counterpart over the last several years as well. And they're talking about Moscow finally fulfilling its envisioned 21st century geostrategic role in Eurasia. So they're linking all these things together. And on top of that, you have MIT's Media Lab being represented at Bilderberg this year. And MIT just signed a partnership with the Neom project. And that was just announced, actually that was just announced a few months ago. In addition to the MIT AI ethics guy that's at Bilderberg this year, you also have this MIT Media Lab, and they're focused on all kinds of stuff, as you can clearly see here. Not just things like personal robots and things like that, but they're also focusing on things like neurobiology, emotive computing, hyper instruments. etc.
I mean, this is one of the places that it's evident that in spite of the rhetoric of all the conflicts between the world, infrastructure to actually integrate and unify the world, everyone is a participant. Money has been invested from across the globe, including the US, including Russia, including China, in a world that needs new trains and new cities and new places to go, new ways to get there, new types of air travel, an infrastructure upgrade to actually integrate the world. It's happening. And if you look behind the scenes just a little bit at the nitty-gritty, it's being put together right now, and the problems surrounding it and the controversies are even being discussed inside the Bilderberg meeting room because it's reflected in some of their attendees, such as the Latvia Railroad person.
So this isn't going to just be your 21st century smart city with all the tracking and tracing and chipping and all of that kind of stuff totally going on built in from the ground up. But this is going to be a global hub that, like I said, they plan it to connect Asia, Europe, and Africa together. But they're even talking about how there's a proposal on the table right now creating a joint infrastructure project that's between Israel, Jordan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia to build an airport there with 4 terminals that would allow passengers to disembark and travel to any of those 4 countries from one spot. So Israel and Saudi Arabia, not enemies. They may look like it somehow on the world stage. It may look like it's the Middle Eastern bloc versus Israel, but it's not. It's clearly not, okay? And Israel and Russia have been really good friends in Syria. That's on record behind the scenes too. So it's kind of like this war is superficially going on in Syria and the Middle East destabilization stuff, but really what that is, what you're actually looking at, what it appears to me, just from looking at this, is that's the necessary thing they have to do to restructure and reorganize this whole thing the way they want it so they can run this new smart, globally interconnected world they're going to bring about.
It's kind of interesting, actually, because I found out about this project through the Bilderberg list for 2018, which we check every year, and I've looked at the section on the website called Background, where they show you who's on the steering committee, and they have Klaus Kleinfeld right there. Again, the guy who used to head Alcoa and Siemens. Look at the past list, he's there. This year he's listed as the CEO of NEOM. That's on the steering committee. But when you go to the latest meetings, click on 2018 and go to participants, you no longer find Klaus Kleinfeld between Henry Kissinger and Klaus Knott. Even though I printed this list out days ago and I'm looking at the physical copy here and it's got Klaus Kleinfeld of NEOM on the list. Makes me wonder if something isn't really sensitive about this huge mega project that's going on. Kind of strange.
And we've talked about this with you guys in previous videos we've done on smart cities, such as Magdar and other projects. And the future they're talking about, there will be literally no privacy. You will have a digital footprint follow you everywhere you go. Your digital doppelganger will become a part of you that follows you everywhere. You will have sensors in your trash that basically can tell whether or not you recycled. I mean, these are the kinds of things they're talking about. It's a little mind-blowing once you start looking into it. It's a lot more than just having Alexa units, turn your lights off and on and make sure you're not using too much air conditioning. It's a world where your every step in physical reality will have a digital trace on it.